Happy Friday, North Texas. I'm Scott.
And I'm Alicia.
And today is Friday, October 11th, and we've got a lot to talk about.
That's right. First, we've got an interview with Mean Green women's basketball head coach Jason Burton to talk about the upcoming season and a fun community event coming up next week. Then, with the election coming up quick, we'll have the next installment of Scott's Democracy Primer series to learn more about how political action committees and super PACs work. And finally, we'll be introducing our new Eagles Abroad series where we talk to UNT students while they're around the world on study abroad trips to hear about their experiences.
But before we get to all that, you know what we have to do first.
It's time to catch up. Hey, have you been hearing about the 31 days of Denton Halloween that's been going on this month?
Yeah, I have. It's been circulating on my social media feed for the past month.
Well, for those of you who don't know, you're going to want to hold on to your broomsticks. For all 31 days of October, the city of Denton is hosting a month-long celebration filled with themed events every single day.
Dang, really? Every day? They must have a lot of stuff lined up.
Yeah, from what I read, it said they are offering something for everyone, so people of all ages can enjoy. Some of them include Halloween roller derby, Halloween movie nights, haunted house attractions, and so much more. Beyond their Halloween activities, you'll be able to find special food, drinks, and unique experiences that highlight what makes Denton extraordinary. Scott, what else do you have going on?
Well, talking about all the Halloween events, I got to talk to Mean Green women's basketball head coach Jason Burton about the upcoming season and a fun community event UNT fans will definitely want to check out next week. Coach Burton, thank you for joining us for the podcast today. I know you're really busy getting ready for the season. First question is, you had obviously a very successful first season here in Denton, record-breaking season. What's your approach after such a successful first season going to this next season to keep your team motivated and still playing at that level?
Yeah, I mean, I think our approach is the same, and we haven't changed much. It's just we got a high standard and high expectations for ourselves, and so our process, our approach is going to be what we've been hashtagging all over the place, man. Premium gas only, and that's just trying to be the best versions of ourselves every day. And we feel like we came out and recruited really well. We had to replace some key people. Desiree Kerno and Deani Robinson, Jalen Mallard are three people that were huge contributors to us this past season. And Maddie Cleary, as far as the leadership, those are people that we felt like we had to replace. And I thought we did a good job of getting older and staying older. So a lot of the players that we brought in were transfers. They had experience, but we're able to bring in two freshmen as well. And then I thought that probably the biggest thing with our team is just the development of our returners. We got 7 players coming back that I feel like really matured. And when that's the case, when they kind of know the expectations, they figured out how to win. They're still hungry. That they're not satisfied with coming in and having average practices and having average days. And so I think across the board, I think we're motivated, staff, players, and the approach has been, how do we get better? Like, how do we find ways to continue to move the needle forward? And so we realized that, this year our schedule is going to be tougher. Both our conference schedule and our non-conference schedule are going to be tougher. The way the conference does their schedule is based on, the teams they project to be the better teams. They make them play each other more. Mm-hmm. And so, we're going to play the Tulsas, the South Floridas, the Rices. We get to play them twice, and that's not easy. And then on the road, we play at East Carolina and at UTSA only on the road. And so, those are some of the tougher games in the league. And then non-con, I think last year we only had one P4 game where we played A&M, and this year we got 3. We go to Houston, we go to Oregon, we got SMU at home, keeping that rivalry going, and then a bunch of other really tough games at New Mexico, at Santa Clara. Santa Clara won 25 games last year, and so I think we're going to do a good job as far as challenging ourselves in the non-conference, and then trying to prepare ourselves to make another run at winning the conference and hopefully advancing to playing in the NCAA tournament. That's our goal.
Nice. And then obviously fans know a little bit about the team, but obviously they can't know the team the same way you do. Is there anything, like one thing you would want fans to know about this team, whether it's, I don't know, personality or anything like that? What should fans know about this team?
I think our team always has a lot of personality, but Man, if people are watching women's basketball right now, it's just a lot of really, really good basketball being played in women's basketball. And the Caitlin Clark effect is real. The WNBA's have its highest numbers. The NCAA tournaments had its highest numbers. But it's not just Caitlin Clark, man. It's the Angel Reeses of the world. It's the South Carolinas. It's the LSUs. There's good basketball all over the place. And North Texas is a team that has really good basketball. You have really good basketball in your backyard. We didn't win 23 games and set a bunch of school records for no reason. Like, our players are they're put in the work and they play at a high level, and that's I don't say it to boast or to toot our horn or anything like that. It's just that we got a really good brand of basketball. We led our conference in scoring. We won the better scoring teams in the country, and so when you look at basketball and what people want to see. They want to see the ball go in the basket, right? And that's why the scoring in the NBA has gone up and gone up and gone up. People want to see scoring, and we have players that do it, and it's fun, man. It's fun to see the passion in which our players play with. It's fun to see how well they play together, and the pride in which they represent North Texas, man. They bleed green, and it's going to be another fun season for us.
Very nice. And then with the season coming up, we've got I know we've got this kind of season kickoff event next week, the Nightmare on Elm Street on the Square. Can you talk a little bit about that? What do people have to look forward to with that?
Yeah, I know. I think it's a concept that we got from Ole Miss. Ole Miss did it where they had they put a basketball court in their square and kind of had that old Midnight Madness type of event where you get a chance to meet both the women's team and the men's team, and so ours is going to be similar right there in our downtown square. And you'll have some of the Halloween theme around it. Nightmare on Elm. This year, Denton is trying to be known for their Halloween, and so I think it's going to be fun as far as just being able to bring our brand of basketball, bring us to Denton out in the public to do something outside. It's going to be a chance to get to know our players, get to know the men's basketball players. It's just going to be a fun event. And what's cool about that is, the square in Denton, there's so many good things that go on out down there. There's so much good food down there. If you're like me, you're a Beth Marie's kind of guy, you're going to get some. It's a reason for Denton to come out, man. And I think TWU is actually going to be, they're having an event right before us on the same floor. And so it's a time to unite, Denton basketball and North Texas basketball, get to know this year's new team. And then also, we get a chance to celebrate our championship, man. And so our players that are on the team this year, that were on the team last year, got their rings. So I'm sure a lot of those young ladies will be wearing their rings. I'll definitely have mine out. Things move so fast after the season. You don't really get a chance to kind of celebrate some of those things. But man, what an historic season last year. So I think it'd be a time to celebrate that as well.
Nice. And then I don't know if this is set. Is it just going to be kind of like the team shooting around, or like can the fans come out on the court and shoot around a little bit? Do you know what the setup is?
I think there's going to be some interactive things at the end. We're definitely going to stick around and interact afterwards. It's not like the main part of what we're going to do is not going to be super long. We'll definitely have the intros of both the men's and women's team. I think we'll have some 3-point type competitions, some skills type competitions. I'm sure our girls and our guys will be dancing a little bit, but then it'll be interactive. It'll be time for our fans to be able to get on the court and do some things and get a chance to mingle and kind of get face to face with some of the players. And so I think it's going to be a good event. I think the court's actually going to be open earlier prior to the event starting. So I'm not 100% certain on that, but I know they're putting the court down early. We have a kickoff event. We're going to be doing something for some of the donors at LSA Burger prior to the event happening. And so some of the donors that want to get a chance to meet the men's and women's teams will be at LSA Burger on the rooftop, and then we'll head from there to the court. And so great time, man, to celebrate, to get excited about this season. I'm excited about our men's team too, man. I've known Ross Hodge for a long time, and the longer he is at a place, the better he is. And so year 2 for Coach Hodge and for the men is going to be a special year, man. I've got a chance to peek in on some practices and watch them play, and those guys are talented, and those guys are going to be good too. So it's going to be a great event that night.
talk about, so this is, starting your second season in Denton. Talk about how important these kind of community engagement events are to just kind of get out and meet people and stuff, and not just always be, on the floor practicing and playing.
Well, one of the things that's important to us, and especially our program, we just want to be involved in Denton. We want to everywhere we go, everything we touch, we want to make it better, and that's not just the North Texas basketball, but it's the city of Denton, and how can we make Denton better? And so we partnered with Denton ISD, with Habitat for Humanity. We partnered with several people in Denton to try to do things in the community. That's important to us, and so we're still trying to meet people. We're still trying to tell our story, but also the part about us and the basketball part is we need people to come to the Super Pit. That's how we win games, man. We need to have the best home court advantage in the American Conference, and so we feel like when there's a personal connection, when people feel like they know a player or they know a coach, there's a reason to come out and go support. And we got some incredible people, both on the staff and on the team. And so, we want to get a chance for people to get to know us, and then hopefully they come back and support, what we have going on, because the basketball is special, but the people are even better that are affiliated with our programs. And so that's a chance we feel like that people can get a chance to really get to know us, to see some personalities, and then hopefully make a connection that makes them want to be a part of Mean Green basketball.
Awesome. Well, that's great. So we'll have the kickoff event next week, and then y'all's home opener, I was looking, is on November 4th. You have 2 home games to start the season, right?
Yes, 2 home games. So we have Texas Southern November 4th, and that night's going to be special because we'll raise 2 banners that night. So we'll raise our WBIT banner, and then we'll raise our conference championship banner. And so I put 38 on our practice plans recently because 38 is the number of years in between the first conference championship and our most recent one, and we're not going to let 38 years happen again, go by again.
Nice.
Between conference championships. So we got to do what it takes to continue to raise banners, and it's a special thing, man. Anytime you get a chance to raise a banner at a place, and for us this year it's going to be 2 banners that are being put in the rafters, it's significant. And so that night not only kicks off our season, but it's a special night where we get to honor some of the things that we did last year, and then hopefully look forward to putting some more of those things up in the future.
Very nice. Well, best of luck this season, Coach, and thank you again for taking the time to talk to us today.
Scott, I appreciate you having me on.
That Nightmare on Elm Street event sounds like a blast. I might have to check it out.
I know I don't usually venture out with the kids on school nights, but how often do you get the chance to play basketball in the middle of the street on the square? Maybe I can take them and get them good and tired out for bedtime.
Sounds like great parenting to me. Remember, y'all, that event is going to be Wednesday, October 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Denton Square. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information. Scotty, the election is closing in. What do you have for us on the Democracy Primer front?
I've got another interview with political science principal lecturer Wendy Watson. She talked to us back on episode 3 about primaries, and now we're talking about how campaign financing works through things like political action committees and super PACs. Quick programming note, we recorded this interview back in the spring, so you'll hear me reference an RFK Jr. Super Bowl ad, and Wendy refers to Joe Biden. Obviously, a lot has changed since then, but the principles of what we discussed still apply. Talking about PACs and super PACs and kind of campaign and election funding. What can you tell me about that? Simple topic, right?
It's actually one of the topics that I love to talk about with students, but it's also one of the topics that I have to research every single time I teach it, because campaign finance is a moving target. We have had multiple efforts over the years to try to sort of clean up campaign finance and eliminate what we call dark money, right? The money that comes from nefarious places and we're not really sure where it's coming from, and it seems to be buying influence. But every time we create a new rule, somebody finds a way around that rule. So it's just constantly evolving. So PACs, political action committees, are actually one of the most sort of straightforward ways of contributing to the political process. As an individual, I can donate money to an individual candidate, right? So
Hmm.
I could donate money to Donald Trump or to Joe Biden, but there's a limit on how much I can donate to those to their campaigns.
Hmm.
If I'm not sure where my party, for example, could best use the money that I have, I may choose instead to give to a political action committee. So, political action committees tend to spring up around either parties or certain groups. There have been political action committees that support women who are running for office, or they support candidates that advocate on a particular issue, who have particularly strong stances on gun rights or abortion or whatever, education, doesn't really matter. You can sort of think of political action committees like mutual funds, right? Where I donate money to the PAC, and then the PAC turns around and decides which individual candidates are going to receive that money, right? So the PAC is a way for me to funnel my money to the person who needs it most without me having to do that research. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah.
So PACs and individual contributions to candidates are well documented. When you donate to a PAC, you declare that. They have to provide information to the Federal Election Commission about who's giving them money, et cetera. There are limits on the amount of money that I can give to these organizations. And of course, there are people out there who would like to donate more money, right?
Hmm.
More money than is legally allowed under the normal rules, or they would like maybe to distance themselves from that contribution. They don't necessarily want other people to know where the money is coming from or that it is coming from them. So,
Okay.
a number of different types of organizations have sprung up over the years. The first was something called a 527 organization, which perhaps the most famous was the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth. So this was, oh gosh, this is way back in the day. But the Swift Boat Veterans were campaigning basically against John Kerry. So
Hmm.
this is an organization organized under a particular part of the Internal Revenue Code. It's an explicitly political organization. I can give as much money as I want to a 527 organization, but they do have to disclose where the money is coming from, right? So I could give
Okay.
a bazillion dollars, but they would have to say, we got a bazillion dollars from Wendy Watson. 527 organizations have this very strange little limitation on them. One of the things that they cannot do is tell you who to vote for. So the Swift Boat Veterans for Truth, again, they were an organization that was developed to sort of campaign against John Kerry, who was running for president at the time. And they could talk about what a horrible, horrible, horrible human being John Kerry was and all the reasons why nobody should ever vote for him. But they could not say, do not vote for John Kerry, right?
Hmm.
They had to stop just short of telling you who to vote for. No one who watched those ads had any question about what they wanted us to do, but they couldn't say it, right? There is another type of organization that was created under the Internal Revenue Code called a 501c4. Isn't this
Hmm.
exciting? This is all about the tax code. You had no idea. 501c4s are what we call social welfare organizations. So they organize around issues which may have political implications that may, part of being sort of pro gun rights, pro Second Amendment is that you care about who is in office and how they feel about those issues. But 501c4s have limits on the amount of political activity they can do. They have to do something other than run political ads,
Hmm.
right? They don't have to do a whole lot more, but they have to do something else. The advantage of 501c4s, and this is a huge advantage, is that they do not have to disclose where their money comes from. And that is huge.
Yeah.
So super PACs came along a few years after that, when people started realizing this benefit of 501c4s. oh my gosh, we can donate money and no one will know where the money is coming from. And we can donate as much as we want and no one knows where it's coming from. And this is great. But because there were some limits on their ability to do political stuff, super PACs emerged. And super PACs are technically independent expenditure only committees. So they can raise and spend money. They can endorse specific candidates in a way that 527 organizations cannot. They do have to disclose where their money comes from, but their money can come from, wait for it, a 501c4. So I can give my money to a 501c4 and that's hidden. And then the 501c4 just magically has money that they turn over to a super PAC. And the super PAC says, there's no mystery here. We got the money from the 501c4. What you don't know is that that money originally came from me. So when I teach this in class, I inevitably have a student say, this sounds like money laundering. And they're not wrong. It kind of is, but it's completely legal. It's completely legal. So super PACs are a way for, if you go get the money through the 501c4, it's a way to collect huge contributions from all sorts of people whose names you may or may not want associated with your cause, pool that money together and then run political ads. The only limitation on super PACs is that they cannot directly contribute to a campaign and they can't coordinate with the campaign.
Okay.
So they can't talk to, if there was a super PAC that was supporting Joe Biden, they couldn't call up Joe Biden's campaign manager and say, hey, which markets would you like us to run ads in? Right? They can't do that. They can't talk to them.
So this is what kind of came up recently with RFK Super Bowl ad, right? Where everybody thought it was like, or not everybody, some people thought it was in poor taste, and he had to put out a statement that because it was from, I assume, super PAC, he couldn't have any knowledge of it and didn't know it was being done.
Yes, that is how super PACs can backfire, because a lot of what super PACs do, because they really are endorsing a candidate very frequently, when they act in these ways, it looks like it's coming from the candidate. Very few people take the time to sort of wait for the small print at the end of the ad that says who exactly paid for this, right? The trick is that if it's a campaign expenditure, right, if it's really coming from the candidate, there will be a notice at the end of the ad. There's a legally required notice at the end of the ad that will say something like, I'm Robert Kennedy Jr. and I endorsed this ad, or I approved this ad.
Yeah, approve this message type of thing.
If you don't hear that, then it's probably not from the candidate. But most people don't draw that distinction. And if it seems like it's in poor taste, it can absolutely backfire against the candidate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just anticipating all of the political ads that are about to start popping up. Could we just like make all campaign ads like not an option, and like the only way to get your message out is to like have a debate or something, because the campaign ads, it seems like it's getting worse and worse every year.
The thing is, what we're seeing of a lot of campaign ads here in Texas during the primary season, but we're not going to see nearly as much during the general election season because we are such a strongly red state. Once we get past the primary season, we kind of know who's going to win. But as somebody who has lived in Ohio, right, which is a swing state, I can assure you, you have seen nothing like a presidential election cycle in Ohio. You cannot imagine the number of ads that air. It's unreal.
Wow.
They don't bother to advertise that much here because the outcome is almost a given. But boy, if you're in a swing state, you just can't escape it. It's a lot.
Oh, it's even worse. Wow.
Oh, way worse. Way worse.
Well, I guess I should be grateful then.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Scotty, why is this stuff so complicated?
I know. It's like so many other parts of adulthood. It's one of those things that's not really nice to learn about, but it's good to know how it works.
Yeah, I guess so. Quick note for our local listeners, early voting opens October 21st, and we will have a polling place on campus over here in the Gateway. So if you're registered in Denton County, come on down and make sure your voice is heard. We'll drop a link to Denton County early voting info in the show notes. Scotty, this next interview was you too. You gotta take it easy on this content overload, man. You're making me look bad. Tell us about this new Eagles Abroad series.
Yeah, well, last week we talked about our favorite UNT memories, and mine was my study abroad trip because it had such a big impact on me. And so I thought it'd be cool to talk to current students while they're on these trips all over the world and hear about their experiences. I reached out to the study abroad program, and they connected me with a handful of students. Again, another quick programming note for the listeners, this interview was recorded back in April. I wanted to start rolling these out over the summer, but then my brain broke, so this series got put on hold. But for this first interview, I spoke to Ivonne, who is a senior marketing major and was nice enough to call me from Rome to tell me about her semester abroad. Have you ever traveled abroad before this, and if so, where?
The only places I've ever been abroad is Mexico and Puerto Rico.
Okay, very nice. Did you happen to get any financial aid or assistance to pay for your study abroad?
Yes, I got financial aid and I got a loan as well to take this opportunity. So if it's your first time studying abroad, David, or Mr. Kilo, I should say, told me about the scholarships that they have for studying abroad. So it's 2 scholarships that I applied for, the international one, and then I think another one, I forgot the name. It's like a study abroad, another scholarship. So I applied for those 2 and I got accepted, or I got rewarded those 2. I am a transfer student, so I'm able to go to UNT because of the scholarship. So I have this transfer scholarship as well. And then of course I have my Pell Grants, my federal grants. So I had to go get a loan privately, and the loan I ended up choosing, I had to do a lot of research and see what loans suited me best. The loan I got was from Sallie Mae.
Okay. And then you mentioned you're a transfer student. Out of curiosity, where'd you transfer from?
So for my first 2 years, I went to a community college. I went to TCC, and from there I transferred to UNT, and I did that. And because of it, I obviously I made good grades in order for me to get this transfer scholarship. And the way with the transfer scholarship works, when you're studying abroad, it's that they don't apply the scholarship to the study abroad. They just give you the money, which I was confused on because I had to ask special programs if my scholarship could work for the study abroad. And in a way, they said yes and no. It can't be directly applied, but they will give me whatever money is left over or whatever money, and I can use it for the program.
Okay, very nice. And then next question is, where are you studying abroad? You're in Rome, right? You're currently there?
Yes, I'm currently in Rome.
Very nice. And how long is that program, and how long have you already been there?
I've been here since January, and I come back home in less than a month. I come back home May 4th.
Okay, so it's like a semester abroad.
Yes.
And what are you studying there? Are you taking a specific class or a handful of classes? What are you studying?
I'm just taking my marketing courses over here. I didn't want to branch out or anything. I wanted to make sure that I take classes that contribute to my marketing degree. So I'm taking 4 classes because the program required a minimum of 12 credits. I'm taking digital marketing, brand management, strategic marketing management, and retail applied to the fashion industry.
Very nice. Next question was, how does that relate to your degree program or what you want to do in the future? Obviously, it's all very marketing based that you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to work specifically in fashion marketing, or was that just a class you were interested in?
No, I do. I want to go eventually get into fashion marketing. So I figured, I might as well take. I'm a very indecisive person. So before I got to UNT, or before I got into college as a senior, I knew I wanted to do something in fashion, but I had that feeling of like, what if I get bored one day? What am I going to do with just a fashion marketing degree? So obviously I just chose marketing as a broad degree, and from there I can just like specialize in anything. But yeah, I want to go to fashion marketing. So I just figured, let me get my foot in the door with some fashion knowledge and do retail applied to the fashion industry.
Very nice. And so, given the interest in fashion, I mean, I don't know a ton about fashion, but I imagine the fashion scene might be a little bit bigger in Rome than it is in Denton, Texas. What kind of opportunities has that afforded you?
So yes, it is a lot bigger in Rome, specifically Milan. Milan is the fashion capital. Um, any opportunities? Well, because I am in Europe, and Europeans have that, I guess you could say that stigmatization of like they dress better than Americans. They like to go even to like the grocery store dressed up, not in like sweats or in leggings. It's very like taboo. So the opportunities I have right now, I see a lot in how they dress and how they present themselves, and it's cool. It's cool to admire. Like I like to people watch, and I do that a lot here, just because I've seen, how I've seen people's style, and because of this fashion class that I'm taking, we get guest speakers. We have had two guest speakers. One is a business owner of a vintage, like designer, thrift shop type, and another one was a distribution guest speaker. Like he has a distribution company, so like he'll have like ads out, or he'll partner with like retail stores, and if you order from said retail store, your product is coming from that distribution center.
What has been the biggest surprise about your experience so far?
Oh my God, everything. In a way, my biggest surprise, how I can handle myself, like how I'm able to handle myself out here. Back at home, I commute to UNT, so I don't live in the dorms, and I don't have any apartments near Denton. I stay with my family, and my family and I live in Fort Worth, so that's like a 45-minute drive. So I'm like with my parents, and my mom cooks, my dad works, I'm with my brother, and here being abroad, I don't have my mom and my dad. I have to cook. I'm responsible of what I'm going to feed myself. Yeah, I could go eat at a restaurant, but that becomes pricey. So I have to realize, like, I'm an adult, like, and like, while I know I'm an adult numerically, I'm literally like an adult. I'm an adult here living. Like, I don't have my mom here. I don't have my dad here. So I think that's like the biggest surprise of like, wow, I have to decide what I want to eat every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's funny. A little bit of a diversion, but I had a very similar experience. So I'm a UNT alum. I was also a transfer student. I went to College, and I did just a short summer study abroad trip. But I was also a commuter student who lived at home most of college, and so like that study abroad trip to Germany was really kind of my first taste of like actual independence and being on my own. And
Yeah.
it was a real learning experience for me.
Yes.
It's funny. What has been the biggest challenge you've had to deal with so far? Whether it's just like in the logistics of like getting there or making this happen, or if it's something you encountered while you've been there in Rome. What's been the biggest challenge for you so far?
The biggest challenge would have been the beginning of like setting this abroad trip, because I didn't decide until like very late in the game. When I went to talk to Mr. Kilo, he told me that most people start like in the summertime to start applying, and they start getting things ready. And I didn't start until like, I'd say August or September of our previous fall semester. So that made me feel like, oh my God, I'm behind. That's one. Two, because there's all these deadlines. You have to put things in a timely manner. And because I felt like I was behind, and then obviously like, what was it? My biggest challenge in this all was like the pre-approval course form that the marketing department has to view and approve. And obviously I can't go in there and like rush everybody. I have to
Yeah.
like I have to be patient, and that was like the biggest stress of all. And because of this deadline and because I'm behind, like I'm like watching the days go by and I haven't heard anything back. I remember I would like message Laura Dyer, the study abroad advisor, all the time, and she's like, "No, I don't have anything yet. I don't have anything yet." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm getting anxious." And it wasn't until like that deadline of like, okay, like it's like the final deadline of studying abroad. My pre-approval form, I got it back the next day. But that day, I remember I was crying because I thought I was not going to be able to go. I thought it was too late or whatever. And Laura got back to me the next day saying, "I got it back. You know, everything's good to go. You got the green light. Talk to David or talk to Mr. Kilo. See if he could get you an extension. You know, things like this always happen. So it's okay. Like, be hopeful." And everything worked out, obviously. But in that moment, I very much was upset and like crying.
Yeah. Given that process, was there anybody in particular, whether it's like in the study abroad office or in the College of Business, or anybody who like really kind of helped you through that process and helped you navigate that?
Yeah, it was honestly everybody. Laura helped me out, Mr. Kilo, and who else? The API. So the study abroad program I'm with is API, and their coordinator, her name is Kelly. She also helped me out. Once I texted her like, "Hey, like I missed the deadline. I'm late." She's like, "It's okay. These things happen. Like, you got to talk to this person, and I'll see what I can do." And all of them were very helpful, very hopeful, and they made sure to make this opportunity go forward.
Nice.
Or move forward, I should say.
What obviously you said you still got a month to go, so you still got a little bit of time there. But what's been the best part of the experience for you so far?
Traveling. Everything is so nearby. Everything's relatively cheap. I'm going this weekend. I'm going to Morocco. I've always wanted to go to Morocco. Yeah, I'm going to Marrakesh. I've always wanted to go. I guess, yeah, it's just an opportunity to travel. I think in February I went to Paris, and that's always been a dream of mine since I was a little girl. And like I got there, I saw the Eiffel Tower, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I cried because I was just I was so like overjoyed.
That's awesome. Have there been any other countries you were able to travel to yet?
Oh yeah, I went to Paris. I went to Austria. Out of all places, I would have never thought I would go there. I went to Austria. I obviously went to London. I went to Spain. I've been traveling around Italy with my study abroad program. They give us opportunities to go to Italy, so I go to Italy, or different spots in Italy. I'm going to Morocco this weekend, and then I think later on this month I'm going to Greece. Oh, I've been to Ireland. I've been to Amsterdam. Yeah, I'm like taking this opportunity.
You're making the most of it.
Oh yes, I knew.
That's
like
awesome.
Yes, so like I've never been anywhere besides Mexico and Puerto Rico, and it's like this is like my dream. Like, let me make the most out of this trip.
That's great. I'm curious about how it works because my trip when I did it 10 plus years ago was just like a 5-week summer program with it was with my German class, and so I was with a UNT teacher who like had our class like at a hotel. This seems a lot more immersive. It sounds like you're attending classes at a university there. How's that work?
Yes. So I'm attending John Cabot University here, and how it works is, so I'm taking 4 classes. I have 1 class Monday, Wednesday, and I have 3 classes Tuesday, Thursdays. How it works is they're all like, I think they're very much aware that these kids are here to travel and to explore. So they don't give you the academic structure here is completely different as to what we're used to in the United States. The academic structure here is they give you a lot of freedom. The tests, the exams here are not multiple choice. They're short answer. So in a way, like if you don't if you don't like short answer, it's gonna suck for you. But I promise you, like if you just like pay attention, because it's always like over stuff that like you talk about. If you pay attention, it's a lot easy. The questions are, at least for me, it's been easy. My professors, we do review before, and it's like, oh, okay, like it's not like you're going to be surprised, but sometimes they'll have class online and they're very flexible with you. I didn't try this because I was personally scared of like, oh, what they'll say. But I've seen other students, like in my strategic marketing class, my group mate actually, she was gone for a week, I believe. Because her family came to visit, and so they were going to travel as well. They were going to go to Ireland, and I don't know where else they've been to. But she told the professor, and the professor was very understanding, was like, yeah, you can, during that week, we had a midterm as well. So he was like, yeah, you can take the midterm online. I'll do a Teams link for you, and that way you're not behind and you're good. So they're very understanding and flexible here.
And you said you're a senior, right? Is this your last semester, or will you have any more classes at UNT before you graduate?
No, I graduate December 2024, so one more
Okay.
semester.
One more semester. Very nice. I mean, you mentioned all the travel, obviously, and it's been a big learning experience. If you have anything to add about just how this trip has impacted you beyond the educational experience.
Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot because you're in a new environment. You have to learn how to adapt, obviously. I don't know Italian, however, I know Spanish. So most of the time when I'm trying to get around, I ask if they speak Spanish. And surprisingly, a lot of people do. And so then I like
Nice.
kind of translate over. And I mean, Italian is basically Spanish, just broken down. So I kind of understand what they're saying and kind of not. But if they don't speak either, then I talk to them in English. But yeah, no, it's just you learn that you're a lot smarter and capable than you realize. That's what I've definitely learned from being here. And I've learned a lot about myself here. You learned a lot about like the what you want out of life and what you don't want out of life. So like I have a certain family dynamic in my household. And now that I'm here and I've gotten that real independence, it's like, oh, I kind of don't want to go back to that. Or there's some changes that need to be made in my house. And, like, unfortunately, my parents are not going to like it. Maybe they might be surprised. Who knows? But yeah, there's like things that I've learned about myself here that I'm just like, wow, okay, I'm an adult. I got this. Like, you're more secure in yourself, I guess you could say.
That's awesome. You mentioned not speaking Italian, so I assume all your classes, all your like lectures stuff has been like in English.
Yes. The university we go to is an American university.
Okay, so you're in classes with like other people who are studying abroad, or are you with any in like Italian classes?
Yes. So all of my classes are a mix. It's a mixture of study abroad kids from all over the U.S. And it's also, or no, not just U.S., but there's this one kid who's from like Tokyo.
Nice.
So different countries as well, or different parts of Italy, or different parts of Europe, I should say. And then the way it works, some of these students are only here for like the semester, which is me, study abroad. And then the university offers they call it degree seeking. So there's kids from the US who've been here their entire 4 years. Yeah, and they're considered degree seekers. So I think that's cool. I like that the university offers that. And obviously, because they've been here longer, they actually know Italian.
Interesting. And then you might not notice, but so it's a university. Did you say it's an American university?
Yeah, the way they have it like on the program, when I signed up, it said John Cabot University, an American university in the heart of Rome.
That's cool. Is it like, does UNT partner with them, or is it specifically through the College of Business, or do you know?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I think
Okay.
UNT is partnered with them because I mean, the way it works is you set up an appointment with one of the study abroad advisors depending on where you want to go. Obviously, Mr. Kilo is in charge of Europe. So I set an appointment with him and I told him I want to go to Rome, right? I want to go to Italy, and he looked up a bunch of programs that the schools partner with, I believe, and from
Okay.
there, it's just personal preference of like, okay, where do I want to go?
Nice. And what made you initially want to seek this out? Like, what made you think, hey, I want to try to study abroad?
My boyfriend. So he studied abroad last year in Australia, and I've always wanted to study abroad before I met him. I just want to clear that. I've always wanted to study abroad. I think that's like the reason why I transferred to UNT is because of the study abroad thing, or their program. Because I had a teacher in my high school who went to UNT and she studied abroad. She went to Spain.
Okay.
Yeah. So I remember like that being the core reason of like, okay, I want to go to UNT. But once I like, because I went to TCC and I was so focused and so disciplined on getting to UNT that once I got to UNT, I was so focused and so disciplined on just graduating and just finishing my degree and like doing that, your typical timeline.
Nice.
And because my boyfriend studied abroad and he went to Australia and like I told him before, like, oh, I want to do that. Like I've always wanted to do that. He was like, okay, do it. Like, why are you waiting? Like, what are you waiting for? Like, why not just do it right now? You're in your early 20s. You're not going to get this time back. Once you finish your degree and you go into the corporate world, you're not going to have time. Like you're not. So I was like, you're right.
What advice would you have for any UNT students who are thinking about study abroad but not sure if they can make it happen?
To do it. To just like, because I thought the same thing. I thought I wasn't gonna make it happen. I thought I was. I cried over it. Like I thought I wasn't gonna go. I thought I wasn't gonna get that loan. There's ways. Mr. Kilo has even told me, he's like, you'd be surprised what students do to make this happen. And yeah, like now that I've done it and I've completed it, I did everything I could to go. I remember I would stay up late with my dad and we would like both research loans and like see what would work. And like I remember I would also like pick up hours at work. I was like, oh my God, I need to like save money. Like I need to go on this trip. So I think just do it.
Nice. Last question. Any other fun stories from your trip that you'd like to share?
Plan accordingly. Plan accordingly, especially with trips here. Give yourself enough like time to give yourself enough leeway time. A funny story is the first weekend here of the study abroad trip, I was planning on going to Venice. I did go to Venice. However, because I was going to Venice by train. So I got to the train station and everything. And I had enough, or I thought I had enough time. I was chilling. I was at the little snack bar. I was getting a hot chocolate because it was cold, And then I realized, like, what I thought was a small train station was actually a big train station. I just wasn't fully, like, I guess you could say indoors. I was just in the entrance section. So I, like, had to scramble, look at where my train was, like, what platform. And if it was a far platform, I entered through the side of like the 20 section and my train was at like the 1 through 10 or 1 through 5. And I had to run and everything. And like I had to zigzag through people and I ended up missing my train. And it was like, it was a whole ordeal. Like I had to buy a new ticket and then figure it out from there. And it was like a big headache.
Yeah, they do not mess around with the train schedules there. I remember I bought a Eurail pass when I studied in Germany, and me and a buddy had a plan to go to Paris one weekend, and we were like 20 seconds late, and we watched the train drive away, and we were like, oh man.
Yeah, they don't play around the train. So now, like, because of that mistake, all of my trips, like, I make sure I have enough time just in case there's anything that happens. I have enough time. I'm like, I get like, I think I'm starting to develop like anxiety, like when it comes to traveling, because I'm like, okay, I have to be there on time. I have to do this. I have to do that. Like, it's kind of bad now.
All right. Well, those are all my questions. Ivonne, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your experience. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for reaching out.
I'm loving that for Ivonne. All that travel sure does sound like a dream.
Yeah, I love that she was able to make the most of that experience and get to see so many different countries.
I feel like this series is going to lead to a lot of jealousy and daydreaming, Scoodle. But before I start planning out my Roman holiday, let's get to our Q&A. What's our question today?
What was your favorite class that you took at UNT?
Hmm, 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 hmm. That's a hard one. A hard one. My favorite class at UNT. Oh, goodness. It was probably my social media like strategy class. It was like it was in the School of Journalism, and it was basically just like how to plan content essentially. Like
Mhm.
they hadn't fleshed out the class yet. I don't think because it was so new in like m- making social media a job at the time,
Mhm.
and um, so like that was like the first like taste of it I got, and that was like my senior year, and I couldn't like wait to take that class, and it was crazy. It was just so much planning, so many spreadsheets and so many, and I was like, yes, the type A in me needed this. And I loved every second of it. It was so much fun. Um, also I'd say like a close runner up was with um, it was ad and PR class with the a professor. Oh gosh, she's super popular in the ad and PR classes here at UNT.
Mm.
But yeah, her ad and PR classes were so awesome. You just literally just watched ads all day and wrote like reports on whether or not they did like why they did well, why they didn't, and then you like came up with your own. And I was like, oh, I'm such a, like a brand recognized person. I feel like
Mhm.
I just love a good brand, like a good name brand, like all that, like it stems back to like my health food era of my life. I just
Yeah.
love all this. Like I'm very like brand oriented in that sense, where it's just like I'm drawn by certain things,
Yeah. Well,
and
I
so that
imagine
was
especially like having like, food restrictions, like once you find something that like kind of fits your niche that you really need, you kind of become pretty loyal to that brand, I imagine.
yes, very much so. I could go on a whole tangent on like brand loyalty for myself. Um, but yes, those are my two favorite classes, I'd say, my ad and PR and my social media class. And then last but not least, my film class, the film class that every film major had to take. And we just watched films every other day and then took a test at the end of the semester about film concepts. And that was awesome.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
What about you? What was your favorite classes at UNT?
So I'm gonna veer off a little bit first, and then I'll come back. But my favorite class overall that I ever took wasn't actually at UNT. It was at Quad C.
Hmm.
Um, but I took a comparative religion class,
Ooh,
and so it was like just learning about like not obviously not all the religions, but like the major ones, and just like that was another like kind of cliche college moment of like eye-opening class that like taught me more about the world. But it was just really cool learning about like all the different religions and all the different traditions and perspectives and stuff. And that
that's
was
so
by far my favorite class I've ever taken. Like anytime I think about, we get the tuition discount, and I think about like if I want to do a master's program, like once I like have more free time and my kids are a little bit more independent, I could definitely see like coming back and just doing like a philosophy and religion degree, just to like, not because it would advance my career or anything, but just because I find it really interesting.
Yeah. See, if that were me, if I was in that same spot for like what I would, take classes in, I would like hope that like there's like a master class. Because not only would I love to just like take it just for fun also and to like better
Hmm.
my understanding, but I feel like if I'm being tested on it, I won't retain it as much. So I'm in that
Yeah.
same boat. What one point I want to like further my knowledge on something.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But at UNC, I mentioned I did the sports journalism class with Neil Foote.
Mhm.
That was really cool and a lot of fun. One of the projects in there was like creating a website, and I think like we used like Blogspot or something like that back in the day
Ooh.
to create a mini website. And so, like I said, I was a big hockey fan, so my website was like all about like the local hockey teams, like
from like the stars, like all the way down to like the minor league teams, and explaining like how the farm system works in hockey and how it's like not quite the same as baseball and stuff. That was just a really fun like sports journalism, getting like, oh, I could actually do this and it could be fun. And then the sports broadcasting class that I mentioned was a lot of fun. We would go out and do one of the assignments would be like, just go to a game and record yourself doing play-by-play in the stands. And I'm super introverted, and so that made me really, really uncomfortable. But it ended up being a lot of fun, and like we got to like, they had, you know, local broadcasters come in as like guest speakers. So they had like Mark Followell come in, and Stars broadcasters, and it was taught by Hank Dickinson, who does the play-by-play for football and basketball, and he's an adjunct professor still with UNT. But yeah, that was a really fun class, and ended up being so I went to, you know, they had the Frisco, it was like the Frisco Tornado or the Texas Tornado, but they were based in Frisco at the little ice rink that's north of Stonebriar Mall. And I just like emailed them and say, hey, I'd like to, you know, come and, you know, record myself doing play-by-play. And they're like, we actually need somebody to do play-by-play for our internet broadcast. Do you want to do it for us? And so for like, I don't know, 10 to 12 games, I did play-by-play for them on their internet broadcast. And it, you know, it wasn't paid or anything. It was all volunteer, but like that was my first step into like the world of professional sports, and like seeing the office of a sports team and seeing like kind of behind the scenes of it. And it was just a lot of fun. And my dad would like record the internet broadcast. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's so.
The German class, the study abroad class, obviously was a big one for me.
All right. Well, now that you've heard about our favorite classes, we want to hear all about yours. So email us at podcast@unt.edu or call us at 940-565-4341.
And don't forget to tell a friend about the show, share it on social media, or leave us a rating and review wherever you listen so we can keep growing the show.
Spread some Happy Friday love.
That's right. And until next time, we hope you have a happy Friday, North Texas.
And go Mean Green.
Happy Friday, North Texas is a production of the University of North Texas. Today's show was produced by Scott Brown and edited by Scott Brown and Anthony Simone, with original reporting by Scott Brown. For more information, visit unt.edu/podcast. Dude, 10 episodes.
That's good.
It's a milestone.
We're basically a decade old. we're basically old.
All right, we ready?
I was born ready. It's because my ADD hasn't kicked in for the day. Hey, have you been hearing about the 31 days?
Hey!
That's what you get. That's what you get for putting in for well, you didn't do that. I did that. That's what I get. That's goofy. Oh my god.
I know, I don't usually like to venture out with the kids on school nights, but how often do you get the chance to play basketball in the middle of the street on the... Professional. Maybe I can take them and get them good and tired before... But dude! Oh, I was right there!
I love it! Ew. That was gross. I was like, for more information. I'm like, ew.
No, that was perfect.
Okay, you can keep that. You can keep it.
Did I say that right? Did that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At first, I thought you were drifting off and like starting to talk to me, and I was like, where is he? Where is he going? I was like, whoa.
Starting to talk to
I thought you were talking. I was like, Scott, we're recording. I was like, oh Lord, is he good? No, but that's just me being ADD.
Yeah. And don't forget to tell a friend about the show, share it on social media, or leave us a rating and a review. Here we go. And don't forget to tell a friend about the show, share it on social media, or leave us a rating and review.
Did you hear that? Oh, no. No. No.
Or leave us a rating.
I want that in the bloopers so bad. I want
It'll
that in
be
the
there.
bloopers.
It'll be there.
Okay. That was
Okay.
hilarious. I'm so sorry. Hands behind my back.
Okay. Happy Friday, North Texas is a production of the University of North Texas. Today's show was produced by Scott Brown and edited
Edited by Scott Brown, Scott Brown, and Scott Brown.
No, Anthony's in there. Gotta get Anthony his credit.
I hope they heard all of it.